Anthem's loot situation really hasn't been the best since release, and by it hasn't been the best, I mean it really has not been the best. While there have been some changes based on player feedback, such as rares and epics being the lowest drops that you can possibly get on GM1 content and up, it has left a lot of players wanting, especially after doing GM3 runs, for example, without getting a single legendary drop or hardly getting a masterwork drop at all. It kind of defeats the whole idea of running harder content in order to get better loot, which in turn has seen a grinding halt in matchmaking for GM2 and 3. The last major update that we got about loot was that the developers were planning on removing the luck stat from all weapons, gear, attachments, consumables, so on and so forth, in favor of replacing it with armor. However, they would be increasing a player's base luck status by 100% in turn. Now, while this update hasn't happened yet, and I'm willing to bet it will happen towards the Cataclysm's release, this isn't why the Cataclysm's loot is slightly better than anything that we have seen before. In today's video, we will be taking a dive into the Cataclysm's loot, why it is infinitely better than anything that we have right now, why the power base is so much better than anything you can possibly earn within Anthem right now, and why you should be looking forward to it, because quite frankly, it is a major step in the right direction. My name is William from Your Anthem, and this is why the Cataclysm loot is the best loot yet in Anthem. To start, let's go over the basics of the whole Cataclysm loot situation. When the Cataclysm finally releases, whenever that is, a new vendor will appear in Fort Tarsus. This vendor will be selling you war chests, major crystals, and minor crystals, along with various cosmetics and other items that you can purchase from within his store. The currency will of course be crystals, as that is the theme around this Cataclysm. In order to earn crystals, you simply have to complete Cataclysm-based content. This can be anything from doing free play events where you have to break crystals, going inside of the anomalies and fighting through waves of the conjunctions, to simply just going inside the Cataclysm and defeating Vara and her forces in order to get the largest amount of crystals possible. There are also daily challenges and other things that you can do in order to earn major crystals and large sums of minor crystals, but the basic idea is to save up enough major crystals, enough minor crystals, and so on and so forth in order to purchase war chests. Now, based on the information that we have been given, there are a few things you need to know about the war chests. First and foremost, anything that you will get out of the war chest will be 5 levels higher than anything that you can get within Anthem right now. For instance, say you get a legendary drop from one of the war chests. This legendary will have a base power level of 80 as opposed to 75, instantly making it more valuable than anything that's currently out in the game. The same goes for masterworks. Now, there are 3 psychological things that go into the war chest. First and foremost, it's the idea that you need to constantly be grinding through the Cataclysm in order to earn enough crystal currency to purchase these war chests. In addition, war chests will only have masterwork and legendary items in them. So basically, if you do really well on a Cataclysm run at least GM1, you will always be able to open up a war chest. Or almost always. The basic crystal conversion from the last run of the PTS before it shut down was that you would need to have 500 minor crystals in order to construct 1 major crystal. And with most war chests requiring 1 major crystal and about 100 to 200 minor crystals, that's not too bad. And there's always a guarantee of having something higher than anything else you can get within Anthem, instantly making it infinitely more valuable to go and do Cataclysm content than any other content while the Cataclysm event is live. The second thing is, as I mentioned before, you can only get masterwork and legendary gear within the war chests. The masterwork items will be 5 power levels higher than anything you can get outside of the Cataclysm. The same goes for the legendary gear as previously mentioned. And as I understand it for the moment, there's a higher chance of getting legendaries inside the war chest than anything else in Anthem right now. Even running a stronghold on GM3 can't compare to getting a legendary, though it is still pretty difficult to get one, and to get a god roll, you would need to consistently be getting war chests in order to get that god roll. I think my net average ratio was about for every 13 war chests that I would open up, I would get a legendary. The last thing to keep in mind about the war chest is that there will be 4 war chests rotating throughout the Cataclysm, those being melee war chests with all new melee weapons for the javelins, new abilities, which will be kind of like upgrades for existing abilities, but they do pack more of a punch, support gear, which we have been asking for ages for masterwork and legendary support gear, and lastly, weapons. And let me tell you, these weapons are absolutely fantastic. They have a whole lot more personality than anything everything else that we have seen in Anthem so far, and it really makes that drive for them worth it. Now, as I mentioned, those chests will be rotating throughout the Cataclysm, and as far as I understand it right now, it'll be weekly. So basically, one week you will have melee weapons that you can go and grind out for, and hopefully get a god roll within that week time. Then next week, there will be weapons, and you can grind out for the weapons, and hopefully get a god roll on your weapon somehow. However, there is a downside to these war chests, and that being that you will be competing with every javelin's attachments, melee, and support gears in order to get the one that you want. Basically, 3 out of the 4 war chests, as really the weapons can be used by any javelin, which kind of excludes it from the situation. So for instance, say that I only main the Storm, and I will only ever play the Storm to the day that I die. So say I want to go and get one of the new Storm melee weapons. Not only will the war chest drop Storm melee weapons, but it will also drop Ranger, Interceptor, and Colossus as well, which makes it really hard to get that melee weapon that you want. It took me about 8 war chests to open up before I finally got a Storm melee weapon. I literally got all the other Javelin's melee weapons except for the Storm until like the 8th or 9th chest opening up. Now this could easily be solved, and I've given plenty of feedback along with several other game changers about it, by simply giving us Javelin-specific war chests for melee weapons, support gear, and attachments. However, I really don't think that they're going to do this, or that they're going to have enough time before the Cataclysm releases, so just keep that in mind about the war chest. But it's kind of smart on their part as well. This kind of forces you to keep on grinding through the Cataclysm, and let me tell you, it is a lot of fun, but you do need to have a full squad in order to enjoy yourself fully, and I would recommend voice comms for it. But anyways, it incentivizes you to run the Cataclysm, run free play events, run whatever you do to get as many crystals as possible in order to get as many war chests as possible, so you can possibly get one of those legendary god rolls. But that's the situation with the war chest. There are other ways in the Cataclysm to get the melee weapons, gear attachments, and support seals to drop. However, it is far less likely, and you are more likely and more guaranteed to get them from the war chest. Basically, they do drop from the Cataclysm. From what I understand, you cannot get them from free play events or from the conjunctions. It is strictly only to the Cataclysm. And even then, it is really hard to get them to drop, so your best bet is to do war chests. But they do drop, and they drop specifically from the chests from completing each individual arena. Though to summarize, here are my 2 cents on everything. There is a huge incentive to play the Cataclysm, to constantly be earning enough crystals in order to purchase these war chests. The weapons, the gear, the new stuff, everything feels worth it, and it really does feel worth that grind. And I'm not just saying that as a content creator or an Anthem lover, I'm talking about it from a player perspective. You'll notice that I didn't really make any PTS Cataclysm content, and that's admittedly primarily because I didn't want to put out content that would be invalid as soon as they make a change to the Cataclysm, but more so I was just having so much fun running the Cataclysm over and over again and opening up those war chests. Yeah, there were moments of frustration, especially not getting the things that I want and getting stuff for other javelins, but at the same time, I was having an absolute blast with my friends, finding out new ways to do things, earning as many points as possible, in order to earn as many crystals as possible towards the end. So in conclusion, what am I saying? I am saying that the loot from the Cataclysm is top-notch. It's a lot of fun to go chase after, it's a lot of fun to use, and honestly it's the best stuff in Anthem right now. Though what happens when the Cataclysm ends and we aren't able to earn this loot again? Well, that's a bridge we're going to have to cross when we get there. I suppose just enjoy it while you can and grind like crazy. What are your thoughts on the Cataclysm loot situation? What do you think of the war chests? Is there anything that you are specifically looking forward to getting from the Cataclysm? Let me know in the comment section below, as I always read through all of your comments and I will respond if there is conversational potential. And as always, if you want to stay up to date on all things about your game Anthem, especially with the Cataclysm coming up very soon, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as we will be covering everything to do with the Cataclysm once it releases. And as always, a major thank you to my patrons and channel members for all your generous donations and support to your Anthem. It really has meant a lot to me to have you guys stick around even when the game isn't at its absolute peak. And it really does mean the world to me for you all to have stuck with me for so long. I hope all of you fantastic freelancers have a phenomenal day as always, and I'm looking forward to seeing each and every last one of you in the next video very soon. And remember, freelancers, we are strong alone, but we are stronger together.